Welcome everyone, this is Devon Dice, the podcast, episode 7, airing on Monday the 21st of March 2016. Hi everyone, Joel here, and I'd just like to say if you're listening to this and you think, oh wow, this seems a bit rushed, it is. We missed our Wednesday slot of recording thanks to Tom and his work. He was called into work for a late meeting and didn't finish until very late. We could only fit it in Friday afternoon after Tom got in from work and I was about to rush out to Crediton Gaming Night. So we had to try and fit the podcast recording into about a space of an hour and a half, which really doesn't leave a lot of room for mistakes or much else. So we just breezed through this. We do talk about games we played, talk about news, Kickstarters, and then we do our review on Quadropolis. I am right in the midst of doing a big exam for English, and so I am really doing a very rough cut of the editing. I will do my best to get rid of the worst, but I don't want to spend too much time editing. I just want to get it done quickly and get out so I can then get back to my exam work. So without further ado, let's move on over to the podcast. Hello, my name is Joel Wright, better known as Depressed Monkey.
And I'm Tom Westrope on Twitter at TPWestrope. And we're going to be your hosts of this excellent show. This podcast will have a lively discussion about board games that we've played, news, Kickstarters and more. Although it's going to be a bit shorter this time.
We hope so. And if you want to join in with any of the discussions, pop on over to the Facebook page BGG Guild and the Twitter account at Devon Dice UK and join in with the discussions. Let's get on with the show, Tom. We've got to rattle this one out.
A lot to get through.
A lot to get through. Shout outs. We had at Punk Reaper. He's been talking to me on Twitter and I was wondering whether he'd been listening to the show. And he was actually the first one that actually jumped onto our BGG Guild or Board Game Geek Guild and put our first thread up there. So I was quite shocked, quite overcome by myself. I didn't know what to do. I was all a quiver and someone's talking on our guild. So
I was trying to reply to it a minute ago. I couldn't work out how to do that.
We're gonna have to give you some lessons on how to reply.
To find the reply button without quoting.
Luckily, Lewis was there to put in his words straight away.
Picking up the pieces.
Paul. So thanks to them. So yeah, you can go over to there. I did put another thread up saying the obligatory hello thread, and to see who's on there. And Sam's there, we noticed. So that's kicking off. And so's the Facebook page again. We're getting more and more likes, more and more listeners. The listenership's going up on the Lipson feed. I can see the ratings going up. So it's all going good, and I'm getting excited that this is taking off big time.
Woohoo!
Let's get on with the ad and then we'll be doing about what we talk about. Now a plug from our sponsor. Yes, that is right. Devon Dice the podcast has a sponsor. And we are very proud to announce that our sponsor is the one and only Meeple's Corner, Crediton, Devon. Meeple's Corner is an online board game and card game retailer. They supply all kinds of games from hard-to-get imports to the family-friendly games for everyone to enjoy. You can order yourself the latest titles in board games or check out their pre-order list for the up-and-coming games that everyone wants to get hold of. You can pre-order titles such as Seafall and Dead of Winter, The Long Night from Plaid Hat Games, Star Wars Rebellion from Fantasy Fight Games, and Castles of Burgundy, the card game. meeplescorner.co.uk and see the great prices on offer to get your games today. So, I picked up a game called Yido from the trades before Christmas. That was the one that's upset Sam quite a lot. And we've had a couple of plays of it. And initially, I really like it. I can see why people say it's Lords of Waterdeep on steroids, because it almost is. You collect resources to complete missions, and you're trying to score as many victory points as possible at the end of the game. There is quite a lot of similar differences. I say it's not as close to Lords of Waterdeep because a lot of the resources you don't get rid of once you complete the missions. You keep it all. The missions you try and draw up are very random, where like in Waterdeep, you've got a choice of 4 to go from. And the cards they call action cards are very take that. And I think that's why it gets the name of with the steroid bit of the subtitle on it, because they are really harsh. I mean, one point, me and you, Tom, what was it? Arrested or killed off 2 of your people?
Yeah, it's pretty harsh.
It was quite. Oh, I know what happened. You got the watch person going around the town,
right.
And if they're in your area when they move, your people get arrested. Now, if you got 3 or more people, they get arrested and you lose them, and you have to get them back by other means in the game. If you got 2 or less, then they just go back to your clan house, and you can use them then on. Unfortunately, I had a card that made the watch move back to its original position, so everyone thought themselves safe in the district they were in, and they weren't. And Tom was the only one there, and he lost 2 people.
My 2 extra people.
Yeah.
So I'd spent all that time getting 2 more people, 4 in total, and then I lost both of them in one fell swoop. But it was my fault. I mean, it was the first time I played the game, and I think it was not the game's fault that. Yes, it was take that, but I should, having played it now, I would see that there's those possibilities and would have played differently to mitigate it. So, but some of the other cards are pretty take that as well, aren't they? So I suppose you've got to be ready for that take that, but don't, although it was really harsh in that particular instance, I wasn't particularly annoyed about it. It was just a bad play.
Yeah.
That happens, I quite enjoyed the game.
Oh, yeah, I very much enjoyed the game. There was a few little, like we were saying at the end of it, a few little rough edges that we were talking about. And, like, some of the space you go to, and they let you foresee cards that are coming up, which can be quite handy, but that takes a whole extra action to draw the top 3 cards, look at them, put them back in any order, and then you've got to hope that by the time it comes back round to you, someone hasn't drawn those cards and taken the ones you wanted. And we were kind of looking at it, like, why do we need this card? Or why do we need this action, especially for the weapons? And I did say, well, it does come useful with the dojo. Dojo lets you swap out weapons that you've already got, because you can only hold so much in your dojo in your clan house for anything. So missions that are not completed, weapons, action cards and bonus cards are limited to a max that you can have. So you might need certain weapons to complete certain missions. So if you've got your full set of weapons, 4 in total, you need to then get rid of some, swapping them in or out, or drawing more and discarding ones you don't want. And that can be quite time management wasteful. I think at one point I was trying to swap out all the weapons I had to get new ones in to complete this big mission, and in the end I realised it was futile. It was not going to happen for me.
It's the whole game is very much that engine building aspect, isn't it? You're trying to path your way to one of the bigger ones by doing smaller ones that need the same kinds of resources, because as you said, you're not getting rid of any of them when you complete the missions. You're constantly getting stronger potentially, as long as you're getting stronger down the right paths and you don't have the wrong stuff for the bigger mission. So I like that. I'm told it can be quite swingy because it's not very easy to mitigate what missions you're actually getting into your hand. And if you get ones that really work for what you'd already built up, then it can be very easy to score points. Whereas if you get ones that don't, it can be quite difficult. There's probably some ways to mitigate it, but that was one of the criticisms I've heard. I didn't mind that too much. The thing you were saying about being able to have a look at the top of the weapons deck. So there's a stack of weapons and they come out over time. Almost like a secondary action in one of the locations of the workers, you can put down worker placement. One of the secondary actions you can take if it's no longer worthwhile you taking the main action in that area is to have a look at the top of them. And as you say, it's a very minor little bonus, isn't it, for the most part, rather than any real thing you'd be actively trying to do. I don't think it hurts the game too much.
No. And we've done a full 11 rounds, which was quite amazing. We've done that in, was it two and a bit hours, 3 of us? Where we only completed 7 or 8 rounds in the previous game with a certain AP person, and that took nearly 3 hours. I was amazed how quickly we were flying through it. I was like, are we going to do a full 11 rounds? Yeah, we're getting through this. All right, yeah, let's do that then. Let's just go for the full 11. And still, it didn't feel like I had enough time to build up to my big missions I was trying to complete. But I very much enjoy it. It's going to be staying around for a bit, so hopefully get some more plays out of.
Yeah, it needs some more plays, I think.
Definitely. We need to add in, because we've still not had it says to take out a few cards for your first few games, so we've got the other cards add in maybe. Mike did say that...
more mean or more...
Yeah, more mean, more swingy, Mike said.
Oh, good.
So, well, we'll have to give him a try. So
yeah, or not. So that kind of takes us on a little bit to Lords of Waterdeep, which you mentioned during that, and I want to speak about this. I happened to play it on Tuesday, incidentally, and Yido's, as you said, it's been compared to Lords of Waterdeep. Mm-hmm. For those who don't know, Lords of Waterdeep, kind of family-friendly weight level of worker placement game where you're gathering your adventure party of different wizards and assassins and clerics and whatever else, which are all just cubes, and you go to different spots and you get so many cubes, and then you spend them all. I don't know if they die or they feel like they've done their mission or whatever it is, but they go back in the pool and you've completed the mission. You can build additional buildings. One of the spots you can go to builds additional buildings, which over the game opens up additional. Each building is an additional spot for one of the players to go into. For me, Lords of Waterdeep fits in the category of it's got a place in a collection. It's got a place for people who you're trying to bring into a genre, get used to worker placement, family type things who people aren't used to that type of game. I'm not sure it'd be the first one to pick out in those instances, but it doesn't have enough control for me for full gamers. It can be very we were playing a 5-player game. The missions that you get or that are available heavily influence your strategy, and some of the missions, when you complete them, give you bonuses for the rest of the game. Some give you additional people, and if you get bonus missions that fit with your character and what you're trying to do in the game, if you get bonus abilities early on in the game that fit with those, then you are going to do well and you're going to be in the top 2, and then everyone else is fighting over the bottom places because they didn't get those things. Or if you get a couple of missions that synergize with each other where the bonuses then are ones, the extra people cubes that you get or money that you get is what you happen to need for another mission you have, then you can, obviously that helps you accelerate that. So there's a little bit of, there's some mitigation. You can wipe the mission board. You've got a pool of 4 to pick from, which is probably one of the better things about Lords of Waterdeep than Yido. Yido, you don't see what you're drawing. You just pick from a face-down pile. So I liked that a bit better about Lords of Waterdeep. But for the most part, I think because you're not building that engine, you're spending them every time, because it's a bit swingy of who ends up actually being in a position to vie for first place. A couple of people who are first place, it's not really skill that gets them there. And what was the other thing? Oh, and then there's also a horrible catch-up mechanic, take that card. There's intrigue cards that you get during the game, and you can play them if you go to a certain spot. That's great, that's fine. Most of them kind of give you additional cubes, give other people additional cubes, make people lose a couple of cubes here and there. That's fine. They are what they are. But one of them is a mission that you give to people that requires them to spend. They might not have any of those resources to spend on it, and they've been. It really slows them down.
Mm-hmm.
It can be
they
quite
have to do it before any mission is done,
and they have to complete it before any of their other missions. Absolutely right. And it's a real pain. They're true take that cards, and it's. I can only see that there's one reason for them to be in the game, and that is a catch-up mechanic, which is a bit clunky in my opinion. It doesn't fit with the rest of the game really, but it's a fun little romp. There's lots of people don't get on with it, gamers, but there's plenty of people who do enjoy it. I think it has a place. I've said that already, and I would quite like to try the expansion at some point and see if that makes any difference.
Yeah, I wouldn't personally. I would prefer to play with the expansions because they add so much more to it.
Have you played with them?
Yes, and they also add a new thing to it. So it basically puts out a couple more static locations that give you a lot more resources, but they also give you curse tokens. And curse tokens will score you minus points at the end of the game, depending on how many you've got and depending how many have been removed from the track. So there's like a kind of a scoring track at the side of the on this board where, like, as people take these curse tokens away, it goes up the track, and the further it goes up, the more minus points you lose to how many you've got in your personal stash. They are quite easy to get rid of in some circumstances, and you can play to it quite a lot, but it really changed out because it gives people so many more different options. It's like, well, I need lots of orange, or I need lots of black, or I need this, and you can take that option of getting lots more, but you also kind of, I'm taking this curse token, I can afford to take one or two, that's all right, compared to the person next to me who's got 5, or someone else on the other side's only got none. It's that kind of weighing up, how many do I want to take? Do I want to take this extra stuff? And the other board is about getting more intrigue cards and playing an intrigue card and collecting the mission from the board, which is another good option to have. And as I said, I wouldn't play without them. Okay. I don't personally own the game, but and I've played not hundreds, nearly 100 games on the app on the iPhone. To a point, I was just playing it every day, because I was figuring out the strategy of it, and the strategy I like is buy houses, buy the buildings, because people will use them and you will gain from it, which is a really nice mechanic. So you buy a building that costs so much money, and you put it out on the side of the board, and you put your little tag next to it. And now people can go there, use that action, gain resources, but you also get a little benefit out of it as well. So you get those, and that's really good to have. And that's usually first turn move. I will do that, or try and build one at least once a turn. So I've got 3 or 4 buildings out there generating me more stuff. That's a good ploy. And
how do you feel about it as a family game, or do you think it's a gamer's game?
I think it's. I wouldn't pull it out with my family yet, and no, I don't think it would work with the wife because of the theme. I don't think she likes the Dungeons and Dragons theme too much. I haven't tried. Well, I don't have it to try. I think the kids will have to be a bit older for them to play it. Yeah, it's not young people family. I meant kind of people who aren't complex gamers. Introduce it, if you just introduce the core box, I think it could work with new gamers. Because it is as simple as put your person out, collect this stuff. If you've got enough stuff to complete a mission, you complete the mission. You carry on. That is all it is to it. And as I said, I did notice that a lot of if you stick with one type of mission sort, like the Arcadia quests or the Skullduggery quests, then they kind of synergize quite a lot with each other. Mm-hmm. So you actually get lots of benefits back to complete another mission that's in the same category. So, yeah, I worked that out. I mean, I'm not 100% on beating the computer all the time, but I'm not far off. So,
oh, there you go. So I won't be rushing to play the base game again, but I certainly would sit down and try out the expansions. And if anybody's looking for another worker placement game that's a bit like Yido, then Tricarian's one to have a look at with the engine building, not losing the stuff approach. And if you're looking for another worker placement game that maybe is a bit tighter and a bit better than Lords of Waterdeep, Viticulture.
Definitely.
Yeah, there you go. That's my.
I reckon I could bring Viticulture out better with family than Lords of Waterdeep.
Mm.
You don't agree?
I don't know. I'd have to try Lords of Waterdeep. My family have played Viticulture. Took them a little while to understand the grape movements, but I don't know.
Yeah, I suppose.
They're on a par. Viticulture's a better game. Shall we move on?
Move on. So let's quickly go on to the news. And first off, the first one, I said at the beginning of doing this podcast that Plaid Hat seemed to stop doing their pre-order stuff on their website. I was wrong. You can now pre-order Dead of Winter: The Long Night from them, and you get bonus promo card, and I think you're still going to get it a month before retail does. So you can go along there and order it. I worked out the conversion of getting it shipped here, and it's £50, which is, I think, quite a lot to have a pre-order. Now, they've upped the shipping, so they must be using different sources to ship, and I don't know. I'm not really fussed. I checked it out as soon as I heard it was up, but I didn't pull the trigger. One, because of the price, and two, I don't know now. I'm going off a little bit. I mean, when it comes out, I'll probably play it, and hopefully I like it, but I'm not too fussed this time.
Well, there you go, everyone. There's your regular Dead of Winter update. Every podcast, Joel. You have to sneak it in somewhere.
Yeah, of course I do. Ghostbusters 2, the board game, is set to launch on Kickstarter in April. Ooh. Now, I put this in because when it popped up, it was like, oh no, here we go. And my personal opinion, it's a money grab. I mean, the first one done very well on Kickstarter, earned a lot of money. A lot of people were excited to get it. But then I also heard fully cooperative. Yeah. I also heard it was not a very in-depth game. Mm-hmm. It's very simple. And they've just now hit on and said, here's number 2. We want more money.
Well, they're pandering to the fans. The fans wanted Ghostbusters. They're getting more Ghostbusters.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just one of those. Just why?
Give the people
I don't know what to say about it.
Give the people what they want.
They do. They want. They like the IP stuff, and
if people want to buy it, that's fine. It's business.
I mean, I like Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters is a great film. But
which one's 2? Is 2 the one with the dogs?
No, 2 is the one with the slime and the picture.
That's the one with the dogs.
Is it?
Yeah, I think so.
I thought the first one was dogs.
It's that crazy artist dude, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think he's got his dogs.
I think he's got dogs. I can't remember now.
Yeah,
I'm confused between the two. But anyway, so yes, and it features all slime and a weird picture. I saw some previews of it from the Gamag trade show. Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast are re-releasing Robo Rally. It will be out on the 1st of August this year.
Never played it.
I played it once, and it was crazy.
Yeah.
I think I played it with 8 people, which people said I was crazy to do that with, but it was actually really good fun. I believe they've said they're going to streamline it down and change it around a bit. And it looks like it's coming with plastic painted figures, which is a bonus. They're not skimping too much on it, but kind of got a fear that they're going to skimp quite a lot on it maybe, and it's going to be just another cheap reprint. But we'll see.
Any rumours to that regard, or is that just something that you're worried about?
Something I'm a little bit worried about, and seeing what they put out on the Magic the Gathering board game, where the models weren't the best, and the materials they used was a bit okay. This is a bit cheap and that, but then they got it out for a really good price. I mean, it was less than £30 to buy this with miniatures and things like that. So I don't know. They went with the cost.
Yeah, maybe cost for gameplay is worth it. Maybe. Keep an eye on that one, because I know Hannah likes her. It's simultaneous movement selection thing, isn't it?
Yeah, programming.
Yeah, programming. So, what's the name of the one where you're all going around the world with cities and monsters and whatnot? Zidit, Lords of Zidit.
Oh yes.
And I like that one, so maybe she'll like this one.
Okay. Yep. Definitely.
Oh, and Cult Express. Yeah.
Yeah, Cult Express is that?
There you go.
Cool.
Robot Rally. When was that last printed? Must have been out of print for a number of years.
Yeah. Yep.
All right.
And there's an expansion coming for the Grizzled called At Our Orders, I think. This will help with 2-player mode and add in some new elements to it. Which, have you played the Grizzled?
Yeah, played it.
Yeah. So, good little game. I think it's very random, but it's a card game.
Well, it's a cooperative card game. It's random because it has to be random to be hard. Yeah. But I think in playing it more, you get better at it and you increase your chances of succeeding. Part of the whole point of it is to show how desperately difficult it is to survive World War One.
Yeah.
And it certainly puts that across. That desperation. So more of that. And of course it had the artwork thing, didn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it is a good game. When I played it a few times, it just felt like my hand was filling up with hard knocks, and there was like at points I can't play any cards or I'm going to die.
Well, that's the game. I think there's ways to deal with it, though, aren't there? I think if you get better at it as a group, you can...
Yeah, well, you can get rid of hard knocks, can't you, if you play order... what is it called? Not orders. You play the token to supporting each other, don't you? So you can get rid of a couple of hard knocks if you support the right person and they got the favour. But it just wasn't. Every time I was like, I'm going to support you, and then the other person didn't, and it was just okay, I can do this. I can't. No. Have you played Exoplanets, Tom?
Is this the one? I haven't. I don't think I have. Is it the one with lots of planets going out in a cross from a centre? I have not. I've seen other people play it.
I thought you had. Okay, so one of our guys has got the first edition that was on Kickstarter, and Greater Than Games, who have Sentinels of Multiverse, have now got the rights to it and are planning to kickstart the second edition. So they're going to have promos and extra stuff and improved rulebook, maybe, they said. So I just thought you played it, but if since you haven't, it's not great. Can't talk about it.
Welcome to the news.
It's an okay game as far as I've heard, but maybe they're going to improve it greatly by doing the second edition. First game on Kickstarter I'm going to talk about is Packer Games 2.
Cool. They not run out of stuff to do with small little cards.
No, there's loads of little games you can fit into the size of a chewing gum box and name it only 3 letters long. There's loads of it, apparently. They're up to 9 games.
What we got
in this edition.
What we got? We got Dig. Oh. Right. We got Dig, Rum, Nuts, Docs. Oh, Box, So, Jim, Boo. Orc and Spy.
Yeah.
You enjoyed this, didn't you, last time? You're going to back it up?
I got the first edition, and I've not played all of them.
You need some more, Joel.
Yeah.
Get on Kickstarter, back it.
I think I'm going to wait until I go to Essen, just pick them up from there.
Okay.
Not too fussed. But yes, he's out with his second edition, or second load of them, and you can now pick up 9 games for the price of $24, and that works out to be... I didn't put it in. Oh, that's bad script writing. I usually work out the conversion. I'll drop the conversion in here. About £24 to get this delivered to the UK. That will be delivered in December this year, hopefully, and it ends on the 3rd of April, so you got time to jump on there. If you want 9 little packs of game you can carry around in your pocket. Grifters is from the company that brought you Coup and the Resistance. Grifters is a hand management game of trying to complete missions using cards within your hand, and they are people that do certain roles. Quite simple game, available till the 24th of March, so you've still got a bit of time if you download this quickly. And it's $35 to have it shipped here. £24 again.
You'll have like a few hours, maybe a day, to go and back this if you're interested in it. If you happen to listen to this as soon as it comes out, this podcast. A hand-building game. Oh, dystopian universe. I tell you what, people love that phrase, don't they?
Yeah. Well, it's the same universe as they use in Coup and Resistance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hand building. Sounds interesting.
Tai Seti Planetary Crisis is a new 4X game where you explore the universe, make deals, and conquer other worlds. I think.
That's only 3 things.
Well, I don't even know if it's all that. My friend backed it, so if he backed it, it must be good.
Oh, it says 4X, yeah.
Cool little minis, lots of card play, lots of hexagons, lots of resources. Everything you need with a 4X space game. Cool dice they're going to put into it.
Ooh. There's a lot of components coming in this.
Yeah.
Lots of cards.
This is running until the 7th of April. It's going to cost you $69, £47 to £48. And you should be able to get it by November, apparently.
Ooh, they've got very cool custom dice. I like that. It's still just dots on the dice, but they've made it look all digital. Do you know what? I quite just want those dice. Is there any way I can just get the dice?
Nope.
No, I'm not buying the whole game just to get some dice. It looks a bit like a little bit like Zaya Legends of Adrift system when it's set out, but I imagine the gameplay will be totally different to that.
They've got the kind of same tiles format, and there's a planet on each tile and that, but you've got a board, and I don't know, it is quite similar because like the board you can upgrade components of your ship to make it go faster or do other stuff.
Anyone, right, okay. You can add on a set of 4 alien dice for $5. So if anyone is interested in backing this game anyway, I'll drop you a few quid and you can add on some alien dice for me.
I'll talk to my mate who backed it, see if he can
okay, cool.
do that for you. So
don't everyone
Gary.
do extra dice and expect me to do it without prior approval.
I'll speak to Gary first. Dirty Cop. Now this, I thought this was going to be a Kickstarter fail, but it actually looks like a really good game. It was just the artwork at first that I was like, oh my god, what are they doing here? But when I was watching gameplays and reading through it, I was like, it seems like there's a pretty good game in it. And the artwork kind of just fits it in a way. Corny, cartoonish. But you're like a load of cops or crooked cops, and you're trying to deal with scumbags and take them out, and you earn money and resources, and they shoot back, and things like that go on. It's quite a simple game in many sense. You play cards to attack the other people or defend yourself, and you just go around the table trying to take it all out. And it actually looks quite fun. You can get it for $40, or you can up your pledge to $55 to get a playmat to go with it. This ends on the 17th of April and delivery in October. £27 or £38.
The art style's different, isn't it?
It is.
Or the I suppose the characters within the art style are quite interesting. They're all vampire-y type people.
Definitely.
Or like zombie possessed type monsters and things who are actually the good guys by the looks of it, but they're dirty cops.
Mm-hmm.
Players work together to fight teams of criminals while stabbing each other in the back to get the most loot. The player with the most cash in the end wins. Just because the last criminal is down doesn't mean that the scores have been settled yet. Yeah, so is it take that-y, stab in the backy?
It's not yet funded, is it? It's struggling. I'm surprised it's struggling.
Not yet funded. It's quite a way off, actually. Well, it's 25 days to go, so...
Yeah, but usually...
At the point of recording.
Maybe it'll have a big jolt by the end of it, but for some reason...
As a result of this podcast, no doubt.
Maybe.
Since early in my teens, building's been my dream, and starting up a team, but I now have become stuck. My structures really suck. Gotta get out of this rut. Get out of this rut. So I keep building, keep my fingers moving, trying out some new things for myself, saying I'll learn to build these well, cause building really makes my day. With my palette I will play, and learn to do things my way. I'll build it all the haters gonna try.
Welcome to our review of Quadropolis. This is a review copy provided to us by Meeple's Corner, the online retail shop and our sponsor. Formerly known as City Mania, Quadropolis is this year's Days of Wonder release. In Quadropolis, players are planning and building their own metropolises, or should I say quadropolises. To do this, they are competing over 4 rounds by selecting buildings from a pool of buildings by placing out their architects. You have to be smart and plan your town ahead of time, but you also have to adapt when the buildings you want are no longer available. Be decisive to earn the maximum points, and if you are not, then your town won't score correctly and will look a mess. This is city planning, building placement and resource management at its core, but could this be the city building Tom's been looking for all this time?
Quadropolis is a game for 2 to 4 players and plays in about 30 to 60 minutes. But we found that expert mode and 4 players, it's probably about 90 minutes max. A designer is Francois Gandon, artist Sabrina Miramon, and published by Days of Wonder. Days of Wonder tend to publish a game a year with really high production qualities, and this is no exception. Quadropolis is a city building game using a set collection and tile placement mechanism. It's also got a couple of other interesting little mechanisms in the way you collect those tiles and put them on your board, which you will hear about now.
Rules overview. Thank you, Tom. I'm going to try and give over a brief rules explanation on Quadropolis. Quadropolis comes with 2 game modes in it. It comes with a classic mode, which is for family and beginners, and it comes with expert mode for more advanced rule set. I will talk about the expert rules later on. So in Quadropolis you get your own player board, which is a 4x4 grid and is numbered 1 to 4 down the rows and along the columns. You also get 4 architects that are numbered 1 to 4. In the centre of the table will be another board, which is a 5x5 grid. This will have all the buildings in there for that round. At the beginning of the round, a player will take all the tiles for the first round, and these are all numbered on the back. Every tile has a number for which round it's with, and is also numbered whether it's for a 3-player game or a 4-player game. It's very clear and very understandable. It's a very good part of Quadropolis. They will take all the tiles for that round and put it in a bag, plus they will also put a few tiles in for the classic mode. In the expert mode, these will be taken away and expert tiles will be put in. These are clear as well of which game mode they're for. They will put the tiles out randomly on the center board and turn over the right tiles that are for the right number of people playing. In a 4-player game, all the tiles will be turned over. In a 2-player game, half the tiles will be over. So it'll be a random mishmash of tiles that are available to select over this 5x5 grid. The first player, the player with the green big pawn, will go first by selecting one of his architects, any one of them, and placing it at the edge of the center board, pointing at a row or column of buildings. That number on the architect will indicate how many tiles he will count down from his architect to. If he puts his number 2 out along one of the rows or one of the columns, he will then count down to the second building in that line and pick it up. Afterwards, 2 things happen. First, the urbanist will be put in the place of the tile. The urbanist is another big grey pawn, and this does one thing. This blocks the next player's movement or decision making, because the next player cannot point his architect at the urbanist. You can point it at any other row, but you cannot directly point at the urbanist. You can also not place your architect on another architect in a row, so you start to run out of spaces around the board to put your architects out into. The second thing it does is when you place this town into your city, you have to place it in a row or column of your town of the number you used as the architect. It's a bit difficult to explain on audio. It will become very clear if you ever come to play the game. When you place your building, you might gain resources from it. It will provide you with either people, which are blue transparent meeples, or power, which is red cylindrical plastic pieces. You need people and power buildings. If buildings are not powered at the end of the game, then they will not help with the scoring. So you get 6 different buildings to put onto the board. You get houses. Houses are the only buildings that can be stacked upon each other. The higher the house, the more points it scores, to a maximum of 4. Parks score next to houses. Factories only score points with harbours and shops next to them, depending on which one it is. Shops score with the amount of people inside of them, to a maximum of 4. Harbours score when they are placed in a straight line, either horizontally or vertically, and they score on the longest row or longest column. They also can provide you with extra victory points in the corner instead of resources. Civic buildings score when they are placed in different regions on your player board. Your player board is split into 4 different regions, and if one civic building is in each region, they will score you the maximum points. They also can give you extra victory points as well. So each player will have 4 turns of placing out their architects, and once everyone's had their 4th turn, the centre board is cleared and a new selection of tiles for the second round are placed out. This also happens in the 3rd and then the 4th. And at the end of the 4th round, everyone checks that all their buildings have the right resources, power in it. If a building is not being supplied with power, it comes off of their player board and won't help with scoring at the end of the game. Remember, you can move around your pieces willy-nilly when you need to until end scoring happens. Whoever scores the most points wins the game. The review. So, when I first initially saw this game being previewed, I was actually quite excited because I saw the front cover and how bright, colourful, and what was going on, and it was a city building game, and it looked really good. And then it got released by the distributors that it's coming out March time. And then I was reading the synopsis, and I watched Devon Dice Tower's first video they done when they had preview copy, and I was like, oh, that doesn't seem as good as I first thought it was going to be. And then we got a copy, and I played the first couple of games with Claire, and I enjoyed the first play of it, and then the second play was this, oh, it was alright, didn't seem much, I don't know, maybe it was because me and Claire played it and she wasn't in the right frame of mind to play a game and she wasn't really feeling the game. But even that, I was just sat there going, yeah, I'll just take this and put this here and do this. And there's no kind of, I thought there'd be a lot more blocking and a lot more interaction of watching what the person's doing. But in a 2-player game, when you're playing the normal mode, it wasn't like that. It's almost you're just playing a solitaire game, and then you score up your points and see who gets the best out of it. But then I played it with 4 people, and I played it in both modes, and especially when you play it in the expert mode, that can be really tight and really like people can get right in your way and really screw things up for you. And I thought, yeah, this is better with more people then.
Yeah, it certainly gets more complicated in that way. You're getting in each other's face a lot more in the expert mode because you're taking more tiles, because you can take multiple architects of the same number as well. The kind of piles can run out, and that all adds to a lot more gaming and those kinds of interaction that you'd expect from a more complex game. Although I do also like the classic version, which is a bit more of a friendly social game where you're almost kind of you're playing it while you're all having a nice glass of wine, or just it's nice, a friendly thing. You can still get in each other's faces and get things that other people want and do that a bit, but and that's that's really cool that this game comes with 2 variants on quite different variants in the way they play, but without completely changing the mechanisms. Means that there's a lot of this box that comes here can deal with a lot of different situations, so that's really positive. You said about you wanted there to be a lot more jostling and jibing in the 2-player, and I think that's something that's for me is a bit weird about this game, because the whole thing is set up as in a bit like tic-tac-toe, where you should really be able to work out exactly what's going on and get to a situation where you're, well, if you both know it properly, drawing all the time, but you can kind of map it all out. But for one reason or another, the whole thing's so complex that you can't, you just can't understand all that unless you really are kind of high savant or kind of very, very switched on in that way. You can't work all those absolute things out, and therefore it just goes back to you making choices on your turn what you're going to do, and that's still influenced by what tiles other people want, but you're not so much absolutely kind of doing, oh well, if I take this one they won't be able to get that one, and then I'll be able to get this one other one over here, which I think's kind of partly a nice thing, because it just means you just play the game. You just take the tiles that make sense, you feel your way through the game a little bit with your broad strategy that you go for at the start. So I quite like that, and that can lead in the last round particularly to a little bit of analysis paralysis in the last couple of turns. But overall the gameplay is really good fun, and I quite enjoy that experience.
I like a few little things about it. I like the fact that for like playing a 2-player game, you just use all the tiles and you put them all out face down the board, and then you just turn over certain ones that you need for the 2-player game.
Yeah, that was
so
really
then
neat.
You've got that random scattering of tiles on this 5x5 board, which are all the same tiles that you use in any game, but in a 2-player game there's only certain ones and they're in different places, and that can really change up. Like, okay, I need this tile, but I haven't got this number, or I think that maybe I need to backtrack on what I said about it being difficult, or not too difficult like that.
Well, I think it scales really well. I think it scales because of that clever mechanic, or that clever rule, where it just kind of negates a couple of tiles around the board, or quite a few tiles when you're playing 2-player. It scales well. I quite liked that, and it changes that variety. It's not just where the tiles are; it's where the gaps are, and that all plays into you can't kind of puzzle it out at the beginning, because it's going to be so different each time, and you can't kind of sit there at the beginning each time and just go, I see how this one now works. Well, certainly I can't. I see how this board layout in this round works, and therefore I'm going to do this. You kind of just have to, again, the only way I can explain it is you have to kind of just look at it and plump for something, and you can't do everything. Lewis said something interesting when we played it last night. He said, you can't do everything. You cannot get a house that's 4 high and surrounded by a park surrounded by houses, and do harbours all the way along, and fill up your, you cannot do them all.
No.
So you have to just accept that you're only going to do some of it and not worry about doing everything. And I quite like that as well. That creates nice gameplay.
Yeah.
Break it down. My best friend was a build expert. He's like, oh dear me, when he saw my house. But I said quite soon to him with a stupid grin, come and help me fix it or go somewhere else.
Expert mode. So, the expert rules. Let's just say you finished a game of the classic and you want to give expert mode a go. Here's what you do. You will flip over your player map. It's different. It's a 5x4 grid. 5 squares in a row along and 4 squares in a column. There's 5 different sections in this grid now. There's 4 corners in each corner, and down the center row column there's another coloured section. And each row, each column, each region got its own numbers, slightly more complex board. And first time people see it, it's like, oh, okay, this is a bit different. It is. Still works the same. Classic mode, it's just got a little bit more going on. The players will also flip their architect tokens over now. They're still 1 to 4, but now they're grey. There'll still be the same number of workers per player. So if you got 3 players playing, there'd be 3 1s, 3 2s, 3 3s, 3 4s, and then 3 5s. A 5th architect is entered the game. And these all go into a communal pile in the centre. The board in the centre stays. But what happens now is that those classic tiles that you added to the bag of tiles before for each round are not used. Expert tiles are used. Now this changes up because these expert tiles change. They got now monuments and skyscrapers. These get shuffled again and put out on the board, and certain ones are flipped over depending on the number of players. It's still the same way. Players now, starting with the first player as normal, pick a architect from the center communal pile. Again, they will take that tile and they will put it into their Quadropolis. They will gain the resources and they will have to supply a resource to power that tile. And they still have to put that tile within a column, row, matching the architect number, or the region that is numbered as well. So you've now got a third choice of how that tile is placed in. If I hadn't said before, I do apologise. When you're building houses and skyscrapers, because skyscrapers are now the secondary buildings that can be stacked, architect can also indicate what level you're building onto a previous building. So if you're using a number 2 architect, you can build a house or a tower. Skyscrapers have a complex scoring of height and how many other skyscrapers are adjacent to them, that score, and they are very good. Monuments are kind of similar to parks. They score what is around them. If there's parks or civic buildings or stuff like that around it, they score points. They can score minus points if a harbour or factory or something like that is also next to them. So you've got to be wary now of how you're planning your city and making sure the monuments are not next to stuff that is going to score you minus points. There is also a 5th round. Players now play up to 5 rounds. These are all indicated expert tiles. I should say also, in classic mode and this mode, the tiles don't get stronger. They are all pretty much the same on each round. They are just set in order to come out when they need to keep a balanced game. That's pretty much it for the expert mode. Let's get back to the forts.
Well, you're gonna leave for what?
I did like the fact that when we played expert mode 2-player, me and you, and I left you to build your skyscrapers, that was a mistake because you got very good points out of that. And I was like, okay, next time I play it, I need to take, if I'm not doing skyscrapers, I still need to take some of those tiles and not leave the opponent to like gain on those. Yeah. So I thought that was a failing in my not realising it, but they do score heavy if you do monopolise on that.
Yeah. I don't know. I haven't worked out what the dominant strategy is yet, and I like the fact that I haven't worked out what the dominant strategy is yet. There inevitably will be one that then, once everybody gets to a really good level, you have to kind of all counter off each other, and the game will enter another dimension of play. But it's not immediately obvious, which I like as well. It just all adds to that, replayability.
Well, we did say last night on the way home that buying the civic buildings is strong. If you can get all 4 buildings down in different areas with victory points on, that's a gain of 14 to 22 points just out of it. Where like if you even get a park down surrounded by houses, and maybe 2 parks down that's surrounded by 2 houses, that's not a lot of points in the end of the day. That's 11 points. It's about 15 points altogether then.
Well, I purposely haven't sat down to math it out, but of course remember to get the park surrounded by 4 houses, the park scores, but also each of those houses is going to score separately. So those 5 tiles that you've put down in the park and surrounding it have done other things, whereas the civic buildings, you're putting 4 buildings out around and they are getting you a certain number of points. But I don't need to math it out. I don't feel the game needs mathing out. Somebody probably will, and will come up with dominant strategies, or not necessarily dominant strategies, but kind of first choice strategies that then other people have to respond to, because ultimately you just take the tiles away from people if you can, or you both go after that same strategy or whatever. I don't think the game will ever descend into that kind of place, which is good. It doesn't feel like it will. The other thing I liked, which was Nick and everyone else's views on it, is Rob mentioned when we were playing it, is that because you're getting energy and people, different amounts from the different tiles, it's good to have lots of those because you want to power stuff and you want to put people in man places and put people in the retail spots. But you don't want too many because that's negative points as well. So you feel like you're trying to create this balance, and that is something that, along with the tile placements that make sense, those 2 things together actually really make this feel like your city building. It doesn't feel like my job, but but you do feel like you've got that element. I think between 2 cities, which was the comparison, which is a much lighter game, it's completely different audience, not really comparable, but I only use it for this single point, is that because you were just putting, it was about kind of a few locations, where tiles were and how many of them there were. It was a bit of that, but there wasn't this. You weren't trying to get a number of people or a number of energy, and so you never quite felt like you were city building, whereas in Quadropolis you really do. You feel like you're trying to manage that number of people that are coming in, and the amount of energy there is, and that, coming together with all the rest of the gameplay, this being a quality game.
Yeah. I mean, I was trying. Sorry, I was reading something else then. And
go on, you read away, Joel. Go on, you go away.
Lewis was messaging me.
Tell Lewis to go away.
Yeah, so I tried that strategy of building houses around parks and trying to monopolise on that, and it was a real big struggle because you got to try and get the houses around the park, but then you've also got to power the houses, so you need to buy something like, the only things that provide power are either harbours or factories. Yep. So then you need to get a factory, in which I did. Then it's like, well, to make it worthwhile having this factory, I need to have like a harbour or shops around it. Mm-hmm. Which shops ain't a bad thing, because if I'm getting houses in, you can go for lots of people in the houses and then stick those in your shops and score money. Yeah. But if you put harbours in, then it's like, well, I've got one harbour in, I need to put another harbour in to make that worthwhile scoring, because the first harbour tile doesn't score. So I need the second one in, and then it's like, I could really do with a third one to really maximise on the harbour bit, which I didn't get. It still wouldn't have helped me. And then it's like, well, I want to build up. I need to build my towers up to make them worthwhile. But now I've built around this park, I'm really struggling to get buildings to build on the second floor even. Yeah. And I think that was a failure of mine. I was trying a different strategy than normal. I did go with the strategy of grabbing civic buildings with victory points, which really helped my score. And I did do that. But then I was focused on this. Okay, I want to try parks and houses around them. And I did exactly what I said. I built a park, 4 houses around one, built another park in between 2 houses. And I don't think that worked. I don't think that scored on me enough points compared to the rest. I wasn't last, and I wasn't first.
It feels like there are other strategies in there, and you just have to focus on the right buildings to make it work. Because if there's one element missing, you haven't got enough people, you've got too many people, you've got too much energy. You should have taken for that strategy, you should have taken a factory that only had one energy rather than the one that had three. Whereas another strategy, you want to maximize the amount of energy you get from that one factory, or whatever it is. I think there's a lot of life in this. I don't know. I haven't played it enough to know all those strategies or to disagree with you or anything like that. But it's really good fun. The one thing I didn't like about the game, and I haven't made my mind up about yet, is the first player part of it.
Yeah.
So the first player, as you've already explained, only moves when you take that one tile in that round that gives you the first player.
Yeah.
And it seems very powerful because 4 or 5 or however many architects in the basic game it's 4 architects in a row. If you're in the 4th position, you get the 4th choice every single time, and you might end up in the last turn or even the 2 last turns being forced to take tiles that don't fit with your strategy. Now that can happen if you're in 1st or 2nd place, and it happens more in 1st or 2nd place later on in the game, but you get such a huge advantage that it's to the point where I'm even wondering at the moment that it's not worth your first move as first player taking the first player marker token. I'm always really careful to say, categorically that's the case, but that's how it feels at the moment, and that's a bit of a shame. I hope someone would be able to point out that I'm wrong and that you're, by doing that you're missing out on something else.
I think what I found with that, and last night I did notice it a bit when I was 3rd, and it was in the last 2 rounds, especially the last round, I had no choice. I had to either take something I just didn't want, or I couldn't take anything at all because I couldn't go anywhere. I was like, first player is quite strong towards the end of the game because you're getting the tiles you want, and you're always going to more or less guarantee getting the tiles you want for the rest of the turn.
Yeah.
Where, I got a couple of tiles I wanted in the last round. Last 2 turns, it just felt like, I've got to take this. I've got no choice.
Yeah.
It's not what I really want. But then even in the expert mode, that gets even worse because there's 5 workers to choose from. And by the time it gets
And no more
to
tiles, no additional tiles, still the same number of tiles.
Well, I can't take anything because I'm blocked from everywhere else. I think in the expert mode, the 3rd and 4th person in their last turns of the round just couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
Every round.
Well, they miss almost every round. They missed out on taking a whole tile. Not only did they not get one they wanted, and I think I like that. I like the fact that there's that tension and you're being forced to take tiles that you don't want, because I think that makes the game. I think that puts that pressure in it. It ups the ante in terms of the expertness, the quality, the challenge. And it means that you're having to deal with things that you don't want to fit your strategy. If it wasn't that, if it was just easy, if you could just pick whatever you wanted to fit wherever you wanted, there'd be no game. And it wouldn't be a proper review if we didn't talk, especially for this game, if we didn't talk about the components.
Oh yeah,
and the component quality. Days of Wonder. Well done.
Well, I'll give them some bonus, some kudos for it. I think they did slack on some bits.
No.
The player sheets are bits of card and really thin card.
They don't. Yeah, but they haven't been damaged at all. They do what they need to do. They're on
But I do think they could have been a little bit thicker. The bag they give you to randomise the tiles could be bigger, so you can get good shake, good shuffle up in there. It feels like it's not quite randomly shuffling a bit. I'm trying to be 2 sides of the fence here.
Yeah. Well, let me summarize this. Let me summarize this for everyone. The tiles and the game parts that are the most important ones, the tactile ones, the energy cubes and the meeple cubes, and as I say, the tiles are thick as anything. They're really good quality. They're well sized. The artwork is amazing. A couple of the little mechanical details about where the numbers are to help you understand which tiles to turn over, they've got that spot on. About how you mix in tiles, because you use slightly different tiles for the advanced expert game than you do with the other game. What's it called? the classic game, and the way you can separate them out, what they've put on the back of the tiles is perfect to be able to do that. They've created a very good game of good price point, in my opinion. It's a sensible price point for this type of game. I think, you wouldn't want it to be too much more expensive. And they focus that quality in exactly the right locations. Yes, you could improve the quality of a couple of other little things, like the as Joel says, the mats where your city is, and maybe the mat in the middle, or the back. But that would be more gilding around the edges. And I think they did a really good job in this production for the price point to create the right quality in the right places for this game. So that's my opinion.
I mean, I'd have to say it comes with a plastic insert, which is one of the best I've seen for a while. And then the bonus thing I love about it is that when you open up the box from new, it comes with a little sheet of paper. It says, when you pop out all the tokens and everything, use the punch sheets and take out the center piece and put that underneath, so it brings up the level with the top of the box, so nothing falls around. I mean, that's an old trick us gamers have been using for a while, but I've never seen an actual company put in a leaflet saying, yeah, use the punch boards to bring the level up so stuff doesn't move around when you travel with it. So I thought that was quite a nice little touch to it. I digged on it right at the beginning, saying these were the bad points. And I think, yes, they could have improved them, but as Tom says, I mean, all the plastic components are transparent, aren't they, in a way? And like the Mayor first player token and the Urbanist pawn are big fat pawns, aren't they? Nothing normal. Mm-hmm. So it seems like they've gone and got custom stuff in a way. They said, yeah, we want this nice and big and fat to make a point. They did do well on the components, but I expect nothing less of Days of Wonder. This is what they always do with their components.
Sure. Well, yes, although they still managed to put a game out at a sensible price point, and other game companies could take note of that, I think.
I should add, it comes with one mini expansion. I don't know why this wasn't thrown into the normal game, but you got to sort through the tiles and take out a tile from each round and add this mini expansion in. And it's a park. It's a play park, really. Gives you a person, but you can't put a pollution on it. It still acts as a normal park for scoring, but that's the difference with it. And from the beginning, I just added that in. I took out the tiles that didn't need to be in there. I just added this in. It doesn't change that game. It doesn't change the game too much. Just adds a little bit different tile to it, I think.
Bit of a variety, I guess, options or anything like that. But yeah. Anything else you want to say, or are we ready for final thoughts?
I think we need to say final thoughts. Classic mode is great for families, new gamers, and getting to grips with the game. It's very simple, not a lot to choose from. Scoring's quite simple to work out. You've got your own people just to put down and go on. So it's great for beginners, families, blah, blah, blah. Expert, I think it adds enough complex stuff in there to really give it a bit of a meat to it, a bit of a bite. I mean, when me and you played 2-player in expert mode, it was really thinky. It was really, I need to do this. I'm trying to work this out. I should have stopped you in building your skyscrapers, but I wanted to see what had happened if I worked on my own little town and doing what I wanted to do, and you were left to do yours. But now I see you've got to watch each other and see what you're doing in the 2-player mode. When it gets to 3 or 4 players, you've got to watch that first player token and grab it if it's there, and there's still that kind of meat to it. The monuments that come out, it's one of those first ones that gets picked out straight away. Watch out for them. I do enjoy the expert mode. I want to play more of it. If you've got new people playing it, yeah, stick with the classic mode.
Well, this game went over really well with my family, and all the gamers I've been playing it with as well kind of recognise it's not ultimately it's not a complex game. It's maybe mid in the complex version of the game is maybe mid-weight. So don't expect something super heavy, but it's got enough meat in there to have an interesting back and forth, especially at 2-player. 3 and 4 is valid certainly for gameplay. It feels like a city building game. It's really high quality components and look, and there are bits about it that are maybe a little bit odd or don't quite fit in terms of, as I say, it feels like you should be able to math it out, and you kind of just have to let go of that and just enjoy the process. And you know what? I do enjoy the process. I enjoy this game. I enjoy the feel and the play and just building up my city, getting my meatballs and putting them power in my different places. I like it. I very much enjoyed my plays of this, and yeah, it's one I'd recommend.
Yeah, definitely recommend it. Out of the Days of Wonder catalogue, it's not my favourite. I mean, Small World is my favourite from them.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I like the player interaction. I like the kind of fantasy, putting two bits together, and that's your race. And it's a simple area control, but there's so much randomness to it, and you don't know what you're going to get. I mean, Underground is taking over from the thing because you got the added bits to it, but that's going into a different game completely. But it's up there. I've not played all Days of Wonders. I really would like to, but it's up there. And if they keep producing expansions for it, I reckon it will stay around to change it up. If they just sit on it, I don't personally see it hanging around like Ticket to Ride and Small World has hung around for a while. I think it could get lost in the vortex of new games coming out all the time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think Days of Wonder, for me, they've got to a point now where I would just go out and buy whatever they release, because I have enough faith in them that the game is going to be good. In terms of my rankings of them, I haven't played Memoir, I haven't played Cargo Noir or Mystery Express, but I would put Five Tribes as my favourite Days of Wonder. Ticket to Ride is my favourite game. Days of Wonder, that's, that will hang around forever and ever. Fantastic game. Next, I probably enjoy Five Tribes, closely followed by Quadropolis, and funny enough, Small World's probably just coming up the rear a little bit on those, but it's all close. They're all very high quality games.
And that is the review of Quadropolis. Quadropolis. Let's close this out because I've got to shoot in a minute. I have been your host, Joel Wright. You can find me on Twitter and Board Game Geek as Depressed Monkey.
I've been Lewis Holt. Oh no, he's not here. I've been Tom Westrope. Find me on Twitter at TP Westrope and Board Game Geek as Stropeman. And join us for episode... Is this correct? Have you changed this?
Yeah, I think so.
Join us for episode 8 on the first Monday of April for another podcast, and we will bring you another review of a game in the form of The Gallerist. Ooh, The Gallerist.
Goodbye, and remember, don't point at the Urbanist. You don't like it.
Oh, God. Here we go.
We ain't got time for this.
Oh, there we go. Right. We have been your hosts for Devon Dice Presents, the podcast. Goodbye. And remember, take the first player marker whenever you possibly can.
That's rubbish.
What are you on about? It's rubbish.
Don't point at the Urbanist.
Oh, all right. We have been your hosts for Devon Dice Presents, the podcast. Goodbye. And remember, don't point at the Urbanist, but do take the first player marker whenever you can.
Yeah. It's a good thing I'm editing.
Well, whatever, Joel.
Nice.
Good
At least
stuff.
you got a few outtakes.
Yeah.
Just for Mike.
Yeah.
thanks go out to our sponsor for providing the review copy for today's show, meeplescorner.co.uk, and to our long-suffering families for putting up with our hobby. Come join us on the Facebook page, Devon Dice Presents, and have a chat with us there. Our Board Game Guild is picking up. BoardGameGeek.com, Devon Dice, number 2124. And visit our blogging site, devondice.co.uk. You can find most of the show information that we talked about on this podcast in the show notes, and there might be links as well. Join us on every first and third Monday of the month, where we'll be doing a chat show every time, and possibly, by the way this is going, a review. Credits go out to bensound.com for some of the music used, the cute song, and tabletopaudio.com for the backing music in the review. Plus, the Build It All song is performed by Flappibus, a parody of Taylor Swift's Shake It Off. Thank you for listening. Now it's your turn.
Just for Mike.
I might not drop the music and just keep playing the outtakes.
Oh, what? So trick him into the outtakes?
Yeah.
Oh, no. Sorry, Joel, calm down. It's okay. It's okay.
Oh, he'd be so cross. You wasted my time.
Wasted my time.
Okay, right.
I'm pressing the stop button.